He is also actively associated with trade union movement. He is still the president of the Rashtriya Chatkal Mazdoor Union for the waterfront employees also. And he is also very actively associated with the slum development movement and anti-illiteracy movement. He was conferred with the Best Parliamentarian Award in 2019. Apart from that, Professor Roy, as we all know very closely as Saugata, is a voracious reader, and he's a very fond lover of Rabindra Sangeet and also stage dramas. So he's a man of multi-dimensional personality. We are very, very privileged. We are very, very honored to have Professor Saugata Roy among us, for whom we are waiting. All of us are waiting. Now, welcome, Saugata, for your valuable address, for which the bank employees of the entire country are waiting, eager to listen to you. Professor Roy, Saugata. Saugata.
You have to unmute, sir. Unmute.
কানেক্ট হয়েছে, আনমিউট করে দাও, স্ক্রিনটা বড় করে দাও, বলতে দাও, স্টার্ট করবেন। চা করে খাওয়াই বাবু।
I send my best wishes to all the bank employees represented by the All India Bank Employees Association and others who are listening in on this webinar. AIBEA is indeed the prime organization among bank employees, not from today, for the last 75 years. It was formed at the peak of the freedom struggle. And in that movement, in 1946, it played a big role along with post and insurance employees in fighting the British Raj. And after independence, the AIBEA played a big role in organizing the bank employees getting their dues. At that time, all the banks were private banks. Only later, the State Bank was created out of the Imperial Bank of India. Then, in 1969, the major change came when 14 commercial banks belonging to private parties were nationalized. I was a young student then, working in the Congress student organization. I remember the enthusiasm throughout the country. We felt that socialism was near at hand, and we went out on the street. I remember with nostalgia those heady days of bank nationalization. Now, since then, another 52 years have passed. And if I may say so, that the banking industry has entered its bad phase. The nationalized banks, as of FY 2021, has a deposit of 95 lakh crores and an advanced portfolio of 62.3 lakh crores with a branch network of 8,088. When they can go down, banking sector has recorded a significant profit of rupees 1.02 lakh crores, out of which 58,000 crores came from PSBs. I told you about nationalization in 1969. In 1986, more private sector banks were nationalized. With this, about 90% of the banking sector came under public sector. But since 1991, after liberalization started, the scenario has changed and reform started. Government brought an amendment that 49% shares can be given to private hands. In 99-2000, the then Bajpayee government brought the bill to reduce government equity to 33%, thus providing for privatization. Your organization went on strike, and all political parties, excepting the parties within NDA, supported the AIBEA. Ultimately, government fell down and the bill lapsed. Then started the provisioning norms. Then came the RBI's restructuring norms. Different names were given: corporate debt restructuring, CDR, SDR, ST5, etc. Bad loans, which were earlier hidden under the carpet, came out in the open. It has become a huge problem now. An amount of not than 10 lakh crores is NPA in the banking industry. And if the stressed assets are added, then the amount will be an abnormal one. Where is the government's role to recover the money? Government has taken many measures to hide this NPA's bad loans, like debt recovery tribunal, surfacing, right of terms as accounts under collection. Recently, what is happening in NCLT through IBC code, insolvency and bankruptcy code, is a big fraud on the banking system and a loot of public money. Big NPA accounts are referred to NCLT, National Company Law Tribunal, for settlement. Settlements are taking place, but with huge amount of haircut. Bhushan Steel purchased by Tata's through NCLT had a haircut of 55%. Alok Industries had a haircut of more than 80%. Videocon industry were allowed a 94% haircut. Loan dues were to the tune of 46,000 crores and settled at 29,000 crores. It's a scam. There are many such examples. Then the worst case was in the case of non-banking financial companies, NBFCs. The one housing finance case was only a tip of the iceberg. In FY 2021, RBI has allowed banks to write off rupees 1.53 lakh crores of bad loans. In FY 2020, the amount was 68,000 crores, and biggest defaulters are corporate houses. In 2019, it was 2.54 lakh crores. Systematic loot of people's money. I'm happy to say that AIBEA has published a list of 2,426 willful defaulters. More than more than 1.5 lakh crores looted from common people. Only 33 defaulters owe the major chunk of money. Enough money to take care of the migrant workers of the country. In the last budget, government announced that it is going to privatize 2 banks in addition to AIBEA Bank. Now our point is, all banks are doing well except corporate bad loans. So remedies to recover bad loans are not right off and make the banks into loss. With a lot of drumbeating, IBC code was formed. Till date, only 15% of the cases are settled. Recovery in all these NPA accounts is only 27%, when haircut permitted through IBC is 73%. Now the government is all set to disinvest a major government holding in LIC. Also, United India Insurance Company. They have enlisted 28 PSUs for sell-off. By this way, the selling of family silver, they want to mop up rupees 1.75 lakh crores to cover their budgetary deposit, budgetary deficit. Where is the money collected through PM CARES fund code? Why RBI surplus fund has been usurped by the government? AIBEA has developed, has been demanding a vibrant banking system to help a vibrant economy and has been fighting for the same. I shall mention a few other points. The banking, I'm now reading a book called Pandemonium by one Tamal Banerjee. He has detailed how the banking system has been usurped by few unscrupulous people, including bank managers. He has also highlighted how the regulator, particularly the Reserve Bank of India, failed in his duty to prevent this downslide of the bank. I am now reading speech by Raghuram Rajan, who was the only person who took very bold decisions, including asset quality review by the Reserve Bank of India. And that was one of the major steps which actually exposed the underbelly of the banking industry. Now, the rot has been quite deep, and the government inertia for solving this ills is to privatize the banking system. Banks are still expanding, and in digit, and in digitalization, banks have progressed very much. It may be mentioned that at present the banking system consists of 12 public sector, 22 private sector, 46 foreign banks, 56 regional rural banks, 1485 urban cooperative banks, and 96,000 rural cooperative banks, in addition to cooperative credit institutions. So the industry is quite huge, but it is in deep crisis. So we have to fight to keep the banking system intact. The government has been talking about its jam trinity, Jan Dhan Yojana, Aadhaar and mobile phone. Now all that is all right. Now they say that 41 crore people have accounts under Jan Dhan Yojana. Now, what is the road ahead? Road ahead is enhanced spending on infrastructure, speedy implementation of product, and continuation of reforms All these factors suggest that we can go for a robust growth. The ministry, present ministry, has taken some steps. The number of public sector banks have been reduced by 8. Now we have to fight the privatization tendency, propensity of the banking system. So all I want to say that we are standing at this crossroad. Banks can be controlled. Banks can be properly guided, provided we are able to take steps against the defaulters who, and not the poor people, have looted public money. We all know of the case of Nirav Modi and Mehul Choksi, how they escaped money of Punjab National Bank. We know the case of Vijay Mallya, who escaped with money belonging to the State Bank of India and other banks. We know how many bank directors have gone to jail. We know the case of Rana Kapoor of Yes Bank, who is languishing in jail. We know of Chanda Kochar, who was supposed to be glamour girl of the banking industry, who had to go to jail for defrauding the ICICI. What surprises me is that why the government could not take steps in time to prevent this fraud, to take proper steps against the defaulting owners, corporate debtors, and dishonest bankmen. I know that often the employees feel helpless. I have been getting letters. Now I have got a letter from All India Bank Officers Confederation. They are against privatization of public sector banks. I totally support the IBOC who are opposing all this. I totally support AIBEA, which is in the forefront of this struggle to keep our public sector banking intact. It is not an easy task. These small farmers, MSME, self-help groups, SC, ST, minorities, and other weaker sections of society have benefited from priority sector lending and other financial inclusion initiative of the PSB. It's well known that private sector banks disproportionately concentrate their resources in the metro and urban areas and cater to higher income groups because of their narrow focus on profitability. For instance, less than 3% of the 42 crore Jan Dhan Yojana accounts have been opened by private sector banks till date. Privatization of PSP will replace social banking with mindless profiteering, thus causing exclusion of the weaker section. Also, earlier there was an effort to make the account insecure through a bill that the government had introduced. Now, when we opposed it in the Standing Committee on Finance, Mr. Venkat Chalam was there with us and he helped us in this matter fully. So I expect that the banking industry employees will guard their lawyers and we shall be together able to fight all propensities for doing away with bank nationalization. It's a grim time for the organized working class. We have not been able to fight to the extent farmers from Punjab and Haryana have fought the anti-farmer farm laws. We must resist all this, and I'm sure that in the end, the people's will prevail, and we shall be able to get rid of all the anti-worker, anti-nationalization efforts of the central government. I think I have spoken enough. I thank the AIBEA for calling upon me. Unfortunately, those people who spoke in Parliament in favor of the public sector banks are no longer there. Gurudas Dasgupta was my good colleague in the 15th Lok Sabha. He has passed
Sir, Mike.
away.
Yeah.
The new generation are not fully aware of the situation. I hope they will also rise to the occasion. And even within the BJP, there will be a section which will oppose all these things. I do not want to lengthen my speech further. I thank the AIBEA for calling me to this function, calling me to this webinar, and I wish all success for the same. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. It was very inspiring and encouraging to All India Bank Employees Association. And with the support of people like you, we will carry on the struggle. And here I must record the thanks